The original Poltergeist scared the ever-loving fuck out of me. I mean, I saw it when I was pretty young. I was like 9 or 10 when I saw it. But, you know, even then, I mean, it's still just really expertly made movie. And even though I only saw it that one time, all those years ago, it's still a movie that really stuck with me, and I still distinctly remember it. This remake, though, it's an entirely acceptable remake. Nothing more, nothing less. Biggest problem is it plays its hand way too quickly. The two biggest scares, I think, in the original Poltergeist, the clown and the tree. Both of those happen really early on in this movie. So, I mean, you get the money shot before it's really earned it.
Oh. Strike two, huh?
There's a new scare involving some tar in this garage. That's pretty good, but that one also comes way too early. So after that, you get the really big stuff, and then it just kind of goes downhill. Nothing matches that same intensity. There's also an over-reliance on CGI. The original used mostly practical effects, and bottom line, those are just scarier. Here, there's CGI for when they're going through the ghost world and all the ghosts and stuff like that, and that looks pretty cool, honestly. I didn't mind the CGI there. But the CGI tree and the CGI everything just was too much. And it just didn't make it as scary because you know, looking at it, it's just, you know it's not there. This Poltergeist just didn't scare me that much. A little bit of scares, a little bit. So it's a perfectly acceptable remake overall. Sam Rockwell as the dad, I think he's really good. He gives a good performance. He's one of the most underrated actors out there, actually, in my opinion, so I'm glad to see him getting work. The kid actors also all do really good. The little girl, because Poltergeist has to have a little girl, she's good. She does what she needs to.
They're here.
There's also the kid, the son. Him I was actually really impressed by. He has a wide range of terror emotions. I thought he was the best part in this movie, honestly, and he actually has a solid character arc to him, too. In the end, though, yeah, it's a Poltergeist remake, and it's just, I don't know, better than a lot of horror remakes out there. Smosh, the movie. Smosh I always saw as kind of being the comedy group for people that were just a little bit younger than me, maybe even just a couple years younger than me. From my age range up, their brand of silliness just didn't quite work for me. I mean, they're fine, but I've never really been a big fan of their stuff. Still, I was curious about their movie, like how that would even work. So how does it work? Well, it's kind of like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but rather than go through history, they go through YouTube. Like, literally, they go through YouTube.
Holy shit!
Also, funny enough, this movie's directed by Alex Winter, the not Keanu Reeves half of Bill and Ted. How weird is that shit? Anyway, though, they go through YouTube. There's cameos by YouTube celebrities, many of which I don't recognize. I guess I'm just not going to the right YouTube channels then, but maybe the fans of Smosh would recognize them.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly who you are. You kidding me? No idea.
Okay. But it was still kind of a fun thing. It was a fun little adventure. There's a lot of creativity behind it, and even though these guys really aren't my type of comedy, I will admit, yeah, the movie did make me laugh. It didn't give me huge guffaws, but I was chuckling pretty consistently through the whole thing, honestly. It was just a goofy, fun little adventure. Not much more than that. And that's really all I can say about this thing.
Dude, look what it is. Magic Pocket Slave Monsters. What? Dude, I can't believe they got this thing. Do you remember this?
Yellow Rat, I choose you against your will. Now get out there and murder your friends.
Huh.
It's a lot more violent than I remember.
What? No, dude, it was always like this.
Harbinger Down. Harbinger Down. There's a lot to admire about this movie. For those who don't know, this is basically a project put together by the people who they were doing practical effects for the Thing remake. They were replaced by CGI. They were broken up about it, and they're like, we want to make a movie like The Thing, a 70s, 80s style creature feature using practical effects. They put it together through like Kickstarter or something like that.
So here's the pitch. I will write and direct a film that utilizes, celebrates practical creature effects. There will not be a single digital creature in this film.
And here we are. That's a pretty cool thing to do, but I mean, it's pretty obvious that it was done by guys who, they were great with technology, they were great with coming up with a monster and coming up with this grim, gritty feel. They weren't so good with story and characters, though. The story's really lacking in this thing. Stuff happens. This monster shows up because reasons. Characters, I mean, I didn't hate the characters, I guess. That's nice in a horror movie, but I wasn't really broken up when any of them died. There's still things I liked in this movie. The practical effects are great, but even then, a lot of times it happens in the dark and you can't really see the monster. I mean, when you see the monster, though, it looks great. The effects look awesome. And even when the monster's not around, the movie just has this really cool, beautiful ugliness to it, and I just kind of enjoyed spending time on this ship with these people. I think this movie will have a cult value. It's a fine enough movie, and there's a lot of creativity behind it and a lot of passion behind it, obviously, so I kind of admire it for that, even if it isn't that great. Joy! Joy is a pretty inconsistent film. Sometimes it's overly sappy, sometimes it's uncomfortably grim, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's dramatic, sometimes I liked it, other times, not so much. There's nothing inherently wrong with a movie with an inconsistent tone. I always hate that when critics are like, the movie sucks because it has an inconsistent tone. No, life has an inconsistent tone. So movies, by all means, go ahead and have an inconsistent tone. The problem here is the payoff with it. Joy goes through a lot of shit in this movie, but for all the shit she goes through, when she actually gets her payoff, it just doesn't feel quite as good. This could have been a really great underdog story if they actually had some good payoff with her finally making her way in the world. But you don't really get that as much. It's like an 80-20 split between the grim stuff and the pleasant stuff. It should have been a little more even. That grim stuff is pretty hard to get through sometimes, because you're really just like, damn it, Joy, why won't life work out for you? And you're really rooting for her, and then things do work out for her. It doesn't feel as good as it should. I say that right away because that really is the movie's only flaw. It's a big flaw, and it really does keep this movie from being as good as it probably could. But everything else with the movie is pretty damn good. All the performers do great. Jennifer Lawrence steals the show. Obviously, I don't think she really deserved the Oscar, but her nomination was worthwhile. The movie also has it just has kind of a nice look to it. Like the way it's directed, I even like the color design of it. Not something I usually pinpoint as a good point of a movie, but I just really like the look of this movie. I also like that it's a very grounded story. It's a very real story in a lot of ways. It's about a woman who invents a successful mop. That sounds really silly, but it works. And it makes it relatable in a weird way. Like, they show her mop design, and I look at it and I'm like, I've used one of those before. I know I have. It's also easier to connect to because Joy is a relatable character. I have met women like Joy. I have met people like her family. I was really able to root for her a lot more because I know these people. It hit home. It's an interesting story. Jennifer Lawrence does a great job with it. I mean, the problem is that it gets a little too bogged down in bringing Joy down and just focusing on her struggles and not enough on her victories. That really does kind of ruin a lot of the experience for me, but it doesn't kill it. It's still a good movie.
Hey, listen.
What?
It would be okay if I...
You want to follow through around?
I do.
Yeah, it might make you feel better.
Thank you. I think it will.
Huh? You know how to hold it?
Yeah.
Okay. less fight and a little more smart. Close your mouth and open up your heart. Good. Good.
Spy. Man, there were a lot of spy movies that came out this year. Are they like making a comeback or something? Or I don't know. This is not the last time you're going to see a spy movie on this list. Just an observation there. Anyway, now that that tangent's over, Spy. How is the movie? It's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just okay. I mean, seen from the critics' rating and just public opinion, I guess I'm probably in the minority here thinking that. But I didn't hate the movie, no. I liked it. It was a good movie. I don't think it's as great as a lot of people were making it out to be. To me, it feels like just a slightly better version of that movie Get Smart that came out like 5 or so years ago. The one with Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway. Just a slightly better version of that. That movie was pretty mediocre.
Zinger!
This movie is just a little better. As trite as the movie can be, though, it's still just... it's a fun movie. As comedy comfort food, it's pretty nice. There are a couple elements to it that I really do have to give a big shout out to. The first being Jason Statham. He's basically playing just Jason Statham, or at least our image of him. He's playing Jason Statham as we've seen him in every other Jason Statham movie ever made. But he's doing it in a way where people play off of him. Yeah, Jason Statham being a badass, and other people being like, why are you like that?
Here's what we do. I go into the face-off machine, get a whole new face. I turn up, they never notice me.
Do you have quarters? Because it costs 50 cents.
Well, gotta pay.
No, because it doesn't exist.
The other thing, and this ties a little bit into a problem, it doesn't play off spy cliches as much as it really could have. When it does a really good job. There's a running thing about Melissa McCarthy's character, how she's really just not fit for this work. Like, take for instance this scene where she's fighting this guy, and through a series of events, the guy ends up falling off this cliff, and he lands just horrifically, blood everywhere. Now, and say a James Bond movie, James Bond would, you know, straighten up his suit, make some witty quip, and walk away. What does Melissa McCarthy's character do? That is hilarious. Whatever this movie's flaws, that shit did make me laugh. And that's not the only time something like that happens in this movie. It's kind of a running gag that she's really not cut out for this shit. But there aren't enough moments with big laughs like that. And that's the biggest drawback, I think, to this movie. Mostly, it's just chuckle-worthy. Still, it's cute, and it's likable, you know? I think that's maybe why it has such a high critic rating. It's just, it has a broad appeal. It's really kind of a hard movie to outright hate. I didn't love it, but it's just, it's nice.
Susan, I got your assessment report on Raina Boyanov. I know you're probably feeling a lot of emotion right now, but please refrain from using the term thundercunt.
Oh my God, I didn't realize I wrote that. I'm sorry.